stakeholders. But that's really hard to approach all of them, so we figured out that students was probably the one that we should focus our efforts on improving their quality of life. But then within those students, there's a spectrum of students in different experiences, folks who are marginalized and experience systematic oppression every day. And then there's the allies and advocates who want to minimize systems of oppression, a much larger dominant group that is just generally unaware of what's going on. And then the folks who are oppressive are essentially combating any initiatives to better marginalize students, or oppressive just in terms of just generally wanting to make sure marginalized students are still marginalized. And then we kind of got stuck because we were talking about systems of power and how we address it, how all these folks are kind of intertwined, and how can we do anything when change goes up to our bosses and then our boss's boss and our boss's boss, who suffer or who serve at the hands of the state government, who are then reinforced by the voters and how we change everyone's minds. And so we started talking about what we can do right here. We're talking about a step above, step below. Which what would you say that is?
A step above and step below is individuals reaching out to make sure that they are educating everyone that they have contact with. Educating and being an advocate for everyone that they have contact with. So, for example, CD will educate and advocate for the student that is they are serving, but have that piece to their supervisor, and then so on and so on. So that way, each of these individuals and all these groups are being targeted.
So within that talks about the idea of connectivity, of how can we make ourselves aware of the issue? How can we help folks say that if they don't know, how can they at least be aware that there is an issue, so that we can start with that? And hopefully that connectivity builds empathy. Now, the issue is that how do we have folks that are willing to learn? Because when you're in a position of power, you don't want to learn that. So how do we get folks who are willing to learn? Essentially, we want to turn this to the fact that there are people on lots of different spaces. Susan, how would you describe this?
I think we see students in different tiers and are treated in different ways on our university campus. And what we want to do is have all students be treated equally, and all students feel that they have value on our campus and that their voice can be heard. And unfortunately, some of our student voices aren't heard as well as others. And so we, as staff, can help through meetings, through advocating for those students in the step up, and continue that step up so that the boards who are making those final decisions on things will see the bigger picture and see what we're advocating for and agree with it and see it as a better institution and something.
Further questions to consider. How do we balance activism and administration? How do we allow students to go against a structure that we are paid to create and enforce? So how do we do that responsibly? And how do we balance the fact that the people who have the most power to make change have the most to lose? So the chancellor has an immense amount of power given the university, but she has a minimal amount of power given the state authority. So we ultimately settle on the idea of, not really settle, but we ended with the idea of the social change model. So how do we raise awareness? So what things we as a university or as employees do to raise awareness for all of these folks that these things matter? And then we started playing improv games. So we kind of got derailed, and you can't solve social justice issues in 25 minutes.
But we tried.
We tried.
You gotta turn around.